welcome to GenFriends. I'm your host, Cheri Hudson Passey from Carolina Girl Genealogy, and we have got a special guest and some fun panelists, and we're talking day two of relative race. So let me go ahead and introduce the panelists. We've got Jenny Hawran from Like Herding Cats Genealogy. Hello, Jenny.
Hello.
Glad
How are
you're
you?
here. I'm
Thank you.
good. Glad you're here. We've got Melissa Barker, aka the archive lady, is here with us.
Hello, everybody.
I'm
Glad to be
Melissa.
here.
I'm glad you're here too. And of course, Mary Kircher Roddy from MKR Genealogy and the Applied Genealogy Institute. So, and y'all, you know that Mary spent the last couple of days researching, and there's things that she found that we can't tell you.
No, we won't talk about it.
We won't talk about what she found, but because that would
I'm loving having
mess up
back
the other
because it gives
seasons.
me
So
serious genealogy to do. Oh, I can investigate that.
exactly, she loves to do that. But as y'all can see, we have a special guest. I would say live from the car with her head is Ashlee. You know her from season 13. You watched and got to know her as she went through her journey. She had her mom's journal, and it was just the most amazing thing ever. So, but the cool thing is that one of the relatives that she met along the way is on this season. And so they put the big, huge head of Ashlee in their car. So we wanted, since she's traveling along, we thought it would be fun to have her come on tonight and share her thoughts about all the different events and things that were happening on day two of season 15. Relative race. Whew, I said that right. So first of all, so that everybody understands, explain how you're related to Kaylee.
Okay, and so Kaylee is my second cousin. So my dad's brother's daughter, Carla, it's her daughter. And then Dan is married to my first cousin, so Kelly. So Kelly and Kaylee were together on oh my gosh, day was it 6, I think. Or I don't know. See, it all blended together too.
Yeah.
But I met both of them together, and I thought it was pretty neat that they both were connected to the people that, Kaylee got to go, and then Kelly's husband got to go. So
yeah, I think that's really fun. That's so exciting to see people again, people that connected in one way, and then they brought them on again. I think that's really wonderful. And I just think it's hilarious that they put that big head of you in the car. It's hilarious. Now, you were telling us before we started where that head is now. Where's the head now?
it's at the relative race office, main office, and they keep passing it around from what I understand. I would like to get it as well, but they're not allowing us to have the head
My
back.
gosh, it's your head.
I know. I can't get my head back.
It's her head, people.
You've lost your head.
It's so funny. And we were mentioning we didn't see it. We didn't see it in the car, so we don't know what they did with it on day two. But maybe it was just covered with who knows what, a jacket, luggage, or something. Who knows? But you say that to stay tuned because there'll be more of you. So that's good. But you can't tell us because it would spoil everything. We don't want to spoil anything. We don't want to give anything away. We want everybody to have a wonderful experience watching the show and not knowing ahead of time what's going to happen. So, so we actually go into day two with Team Red, who who came in first on day one. And so we get started with them, and I really don't like the way they say they penalize the other teams. They haven't penalized the other teams. They just won. So the other teams get a penalty. And so I don't like it when it sounds like Team Red did it to them. They didn't do anything. They just won. And so then the other teams get a penalty. So, and we have to watch for it because Dan said what? He said to look for you have to read
the fine print.
Read the fine print.
Yeah. So I think everybody did great as they were starting out because they all went and looked at maps. They're getting smarter and seeing the best way to get out of town. I mean, they don't know which way they're going to go. but I think that was great.
Well,
And
Team
then,
Blue had an inkling. Or
yeah, they
probably
had, yeah,
so.
Yeah.
yeah, and they were right with their inkling. And then, who was it that went to the? Oh, was it Team Green that
Can I
went? Go
say
ahead.
one thing? I am just loving this one because this whole season, because they're all in the West.
Yes.
And
Usually they're in the East, and I'm going, oh, look, they're
Northwest here, I get really sad when it's all
yeah,
way too far away from me. So this
yeah.
is the
This is
West.
really fun in the areas that you know. Yeah, that's really great. Trying to remember which team went to the cemetery. Was it Team Green? It was Team Green.
It was green. It was
It was
green.
green. Yeah, yeah, which I thought was really sweet. They went to because she'd met her father, and so they went to see her paternal grandparents.
Yeah, and I noticed that her grandmother, if you looked at the dates on their headstone, she had lived to be 100 years old. They
100
didn't
years
mention it,
old.
but just looking at the dates.
Yeah, 100 years old. Yeah, yeah. And he said we enjoyed every minute of it, but it wasn't as hard to let her go as was his father because he died pretty young. So I thought that was really sweet that they were able to go to that cemetery and see that before they headed off. Mary, did you have something? You look like you had something you wanted to say.
No, no, no. Well, I do
She's-
have something that when you start talking about when they're trying to find the relative's house, though. But
Okay, okay. Absolutely.
I'm liking that they're not their travel times are just shorter than past
Oh,
seasons
yeah.
because I mean, Ashlee could probably speak to this, but I mean, it must be an exhausting day, and to have to drive 5 hours somewhere, 6 hours has got to be a lot, right? I mean, did you have really long drives, Ashlee?
Nothing that long. I mean, well, we had to fly because obviously
Yeah.
most of our, when I was on season 13, they were all in the East Coast mainly, and we were on the West. And then so we started up in Portland and then headed all the way down. So we did have some long drives, but they tried to divide it up so it wasn't too bad.
Yeah.
I like the things that are transitioning and happening on the show. I really like that they're doing the little bit shorter times. I just feel like they're getting things down. It just flows better. I kind of like how they're working through that. Gives
And
more time.
there's more family time, and I think they're
Yeah.
listening to the fans too because there's more family time, and that's what we
agree.
want to see. That's what we want to see. So, anybody want to start with? I mean, they always seem to get to their the challenge pretty quick. We don't see, but I bet they do have problems getting to the challenge. What do you think? They
they're
just
often at a more public place. So
Right.
it's got to be a park, and there's
That's a
fewer
good-
of those
that's a
any
good
given.
point. That's a good point. Yeah, and that they were all going to a soccer field, it said. So some of them were really nervous about what does that mean? What are we gonna do? We're gonna go to a soccer field, but I thought the challenge was really funny. And it was harder than I think that anybody thought until they got their rhythm down, you know? It was cannons and canopies. So they're trying to keep in that military and that military theme. So they who wants to explain the challenge?
Got a lot of steps to it.
Yeah.
Melissa's
They
good
had
at
to
that,
catch a
or
ball.
Mary's good at that.
Yeah.
Shot from the cannon, and then somebody else had a bag that they
Yeah.
had to catch it from, and they had to actually catch 4 balls.
Right.
And
One
each
from-
of them
one
had a
from
number,
each
and then they had
bag.
to figure out the
Yeah.
number, what that was representative. But I had that one right away.
I'll bet you did.
And then so once they figured out the order the balls went in, then they had the code for like an ammo box or something.
Yeah.
And filled with pieces to set up a tent underneath this tarp thingy.
Yeah.
Net tarp thingy.
Tarp thing.
Yeah.
That was
I don't know what you call it.
No, that's the official description. Yeah. But it looked like they had to get their rhythm down to be able to catch the ball because you think, oh, you fire this ball up and then you just hold the bag and then you catch it and then the wind was blowing and it just wasn't as
Team Red, I don't think they caught one ball.
No, Kaylee and Dan
they timed out. Yeah.
timed out.
And then
Kaylee told me, yeah.
Go ahead, what
She
she
said
tell
it
you?
was awful. She said it was awful. She's like, we could not get those balls. And she said the wind kept blowing them, and it was really windy where they were at.
Yeah.
So it kept blowing, and they were trying to catch them. And she goes, that was the worst. And then
of
I was
course
laughing
she
too.
fell.
Yeah, and then she fell, and she said she fell multiple times though. She didn't even fall just once.
Oh,
She felt like
they were nice to her and only showed the couple of times. And of course, they did have to show the one at the end in slow motion.
Right. Like, thanks a lot, Dan.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
I was also laughing at the way the different teams put up their tents, because some were like just barely up in the middle. And they're like, it's like, does that count?
Apparently.
So it was funny.
It was really funny. It was really funny. And I always think to myself, I don't know, they must really take time to explain, and they must not give them the directions really quickly, because I would have been lost in a lot of the challenges as to what I was supposed to do.
Yeah. Yeah, I always wonder that. Is like sometimes there's so many different directions, and is there somebody there, is there a producer there saying, hey, you need to do this next? I mean, I don't know. I'm not good at games.
They kind of let you wing it. I mean, they just kind of give you the directions. There's like a little thing that just tells you what to do, and then you have to go and do it. And then obviously if you have a problem, you can ask, but you're kind of just left on your own to do it. They just, because you're being timed, so you got to hurry. And
true, and that's really stressful.
Yeah, and so I think a lot of times people will, like, at least with my team, with Brendan and I, we would like try and divide it up and to remember certain things. Like, okay, you remember this, I'll do this.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, so that kind of helps you like keep on track.
Yeah, sometimes I just think I can't. If they tell them as quick as they tell us when we're watching the show, I'd be lost. I'd be so lost. Like, what in the world are we supposed to be doing? So, some of them are easier than others.
Definitely.
Yeah, some of them look easier than others. I think some of them walked up to this one thinking, oh, this will be easy. And then when they started, it was like, this is not easy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then they had to switch. So if somebody caught a ball, then they would switch. And so some of them were better catchers than others. Some of them were getting the little cannon things directed better than others. So you just had to get your rhythm and something like that to get it going. So I felt bad for Team Red, because they did out, and I was like, no, anybody time.
And then and then when it ended, I actually kind of forgot about the what is it called, the not the challenge, where they had to read
right. Yes, the fine print.
Yeah, the fine print. With 3-point
font.
Using a magnifying glass. I was like, that's a fun little twist. I mean,
that was a fun little twist. I thought so too. But unfortunately, it really didn't help Team Red, which I wish it had. But sometimes the benefits help, sometimes they don't. And so, their benefit was not having to do that. But yeah, sometimes it helps, sometimes it doesn't. So we had Jenny, you had said that you were sobbing. I'm thinking maybe as we watch, we cry and we sob. And so do you guys want to start with, who do you want to start with?
Can we start with my tip on directions, though?
Yes.
What I noticed last night.
Yes.
So I noticed when they gave the street addresses, they gave the full address, including zip codes.
Yes.
And these people have no idea where to go.
Yeah.
They need to go to the post office and get the zip code map or somewhere, because Oklahoma City has, I've just looked it up here, 76 different zip codes, because it's so big and it has different neighborhoods. So when you know it's this neighborhood, go figure out where that zip code is and focus your efforts there. So anyway, that would be my tip.
That's a good tip.
So smart, Mary.
So for everybody watching this that wants to get a relative race, listen to Mary. She's
right.
Good idea, Mary. Good idea.
Very good.
I thought of that.
I love that idea.
I never noticed that before, but last night I heard them say the zip code, and I'm thinking, follow the zip code, you people.
The zip code. And I think that they can do that now, because most of these homes are not the relatives' homes. they're like Airbnbs and stuff like that. And so maybe it's helping to advertise the Airbnb for them, you know, since they used it. I don't know. But I know people would say, why are they giving out the full addresses? Because then people are going to show up at those homes because they were on the show. And pretty much today they're not. When they first, you know, the first few seasons, they were going to relatives' homes. And so now for the most part, they're not, because they've got to line people up, you know, and that's why I think we hear a lot of them saying, thank you for coming to their relatives. They're thanking them for coming to that place so they can meet them. So, you know, so I think that's a big clue too, that's not their house. They had to come in and be part of that. Which team? Well, Ashlee, talk to us about Team Red. Well, number one, they were having such a hard day. They had a hard time finding the relative. It was just hard for them. They couldn't find the address. I mean, they didn't do well in the challenge, and then they were having a hard time. Nobody ever knows where anything is. That's
it's just it's just hard for them, and they just kept missing out on where to go and where to turn, and it was just a rough day for them overall. But of course, and being a contestant and being on and knowing that even if you have all those things go wrong, it always makes up for it when you meet your relative.
Oh,
and you know, so when Dan got to that point and was able to meet his sister, you know, that was just beyond. Of course, I was crying too, because I know Dan on a personal level, and so I know what he's wanted, and I know when they got accepted to go onto the show, and we talked about it. We would talk, and the things he would share about how excited he was, and he was hoping he might be able to meet a sibling, or he might be able to, you know. And so then when you see it, because I obviously hadn't seen it either, or seen anything, and then seeing that, I was just very touched, and so worth all the challenges to get to that point, right?
Yeah, exactly. I thought it was interesting that he said that he wrote a letter, just kind of based on, you know, to whomever, but he wrote it to a brother and what his hopes were for meeting this person, you know, and I thought that was really special. And I'm wondering, is that something that the show maybe asked him to do ahead of time? Is that something that you'd heard of before?
I think he had just done it personally before. I don't think it was anything the show had actually asked him to do, but I could be wrong. I really don't think so, because if I remember correctly, that was something he had just done years ago or years before.
Oh, I see.
On that. Okay. Yeah, and they didn't go into, or at least, well, maybe, I don't know if this will come out. Maybe I shouldn't say it. I don't know. I don't know what will come out and not come out. Did they give, I'm trying to remember, how much of the backstory did they give? Did they, on the first one, give a lot of his backstory? They kind of did, right? They usually go into it more later on in some of the episodes. So
yes, yeah.
Okay, I won't say anything.
Jenny, were you going to say something?
No, I was saying no, as I was just agreeing with her that I don't think they've really gotten too deep into his backstory at all. He had to me, he had one of the best quotes of the night, where he was so emotional, and he said it kind of fills a hole in your heart that you never knew you had. I'm wondering if that's probably what all of you feel, that you just don't realize how much you needed it until you meet them.
Oh, absolutely. And it's so funny, because when you're being filmed and everything, and they ask you, you know, why did you, what was your purpose and everything? And like you said, I had pushed it away for years to not ever look, because that was going against my adoptive family. My adoptive family always felt it was very disloyal if you ever looked for anyone. And so I had always just pushed it aside and thought I never, ever needed that. And so when I first got accepted onto the show and we started filming, and then as I started meeting people, again, that quote fit perfectly, because I realized, and when I got home and after the show was over, and I had a dad who to this day has texted me every day, and we've called every single time, you know, every day. There's not been a day he has not reached out to me. And it's been a year and a half.
Yeah.
And he will write to me, "You're my baby girl. I'm never going to let you go." And that really, that hole in your heart that you didn't know you had. Whoa, talk about, I mean, the first couple of weeks I would just cry every time he texted me. And maybe that sound like some people like, oh, wow, it's a text. But no, that just was like, didn't realize how much that would mean to me. Yeah.
I was just looking at my notes, and what he said was that he was picked up at 3 weeks old, and I think that's the only thing that we know so far is that his adoptive parents picked him up at 3 weeks old, and he did say that he felt very loved and taken care of by them. But now, his adoptive mom has died, and he's just ready to fill that hole. And so that was just beautiful. And not only did he discover his sister, but discover that he does in fact have a brother. So
yeah, I saw a picture of his brother and his mom.
Yeah.
So,
Exactly. So
I love it when they pull out pictures.
Oh, me too.
Yeah.
You know,
Me too. Yeah.
and yeah.
That just
There's a whole miracle that goes with the 3-week thing. So I hope, that gets touched upon.
All right. Well,
Really
we'll be watching. We'll be watching for that. Thank you for the heads up. That we'll be watching for that and go, oh, that's what Ashlee was talking about. So, hey, Mary, do you want to talk about Team Blue since they're the ones from
Team Blue? Yep, that's my Seattle team. So
I was before you start, Mary, I was very interested in the name of the city that they went to in Idaho. That looks like a French name.
Coeur d'Alene.
I didn't have time to look up the history or how they came up with it. Do you know anything about it?
I think it's probably French trappers. There were a lot of beaver and lots of other things. So it's in Idaho. Idaho has what's called the Panhandle, a long skinny part, northwest part of it, and then kind of a much bigger state or bigger section in the lower part. So it's in the Idaho Panhandle, and it really is just across the border from Spokane. So there would be a lot of people that live in or maybe work in Spokane that perhaps would live in Coeur d'Alene. There's a big lake, Lake Coeur d'Alene, and a lot of recreational stuff on Lake Coeur d'Alene. I have friends that have a cabin on Lake Coeur d'Alene. So
it's gorgeous up there. Beautiful.
This is personal for Mary.
I know it is. Yes, I'm going to sell the Northwest here. So they wound up in Coeur d'Alene and met Joni's cousin, but her daughter, the daughter, and what is her name? Rosanna, said, I think we're heading west. So she knew exactly where, before they even had an address or a destination, they figured out how to get out of town going to the west, because they figured that would be where they would be going. So so they just had to go across the Panhandle from Montana there and met her cousin. His dad and her mom, I think, were brother and sister.
I believe
his dad's passed away a few years ago, but they had this interesting connection. She said she took one look at him, and they have very unusual colored eyes.
Yeah.
He's got the same colored eyes she has.
So
that was cool. And then he showed her a picture of her mom at like age 7, and she looks just identical to her mother.
And then they showed the picture of her about the same.
I mean, they could have been the same.
It's
kid.
like the same person, right?
Yeah. And then she got to see a picture of her brother, who's not going to be able to appear on the show.
But again,
he did have the same eyes too.
That is just
I don't know if anyone else noticed it. I don't know. Maybe I'm just seeing things, but the photograph of her brother, the ones that couldn't be on the show, it almost like he had maybe a disability or something. And I could be really wrong.
I don't know. I didn't catch it.
They didn't say anything. I was just looking at the picture.
I will admit to myself.
Mary knows something.
Mary knows something, but she can't tell.
I don't think he does.
Okay. Okay. Like we said, Mary really watches things and looks at documents, and then especially because this is a Seattle family, she is going to be all over this this season. And so she'll send us little notes after the show going, I know where they're going next. I know where this person is, or, if they want to be on the show, they're going to meet this person next. So it's really fun. It's really fun to be on our chat with Mary, because she always comes up with great things after the show airs.
I am a drug addict. My drug is
It's
genealogy.
genealogy. Exactly. So yeah, that was a sweet, sweet story. And it was interesting too, because when they first met, he was saying that his daughter was or they have a son. He has a son that's in Italy, and the daughter was gonna go to Italy this summer, but she would have already done it. They filmed that in the spring, so she'd already done it. But then Joni's daughter had done a semester abroad in Italy. And I thought, how fun was that of all the places, that they had that connection? I thought that was great. I thought that was really good. So just another weird thing that happens, when families meet. It's just amazing the things that they find out that they have in common. So and I'm
Speaking
sure
of in common, the
Mhm.
photo that they showed her of her mom,
Yeah.
and they compared it to the photo of
Yeah.
her at the
Yeah.
Yeah,
same age, and they
it
looked
was amazing.
identical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that was and she just couldn't believe it either. She was in shock. She was in shock. And she did ask, who was still alive. And, you know, yeah, so her mom is still alive, and we'll see if she gets to meet her on the show. So we just don't
I,
know. Go ahead.
I say I also love the fact that they did touch upon the sensitive subject of addiction. And I love that they addressed that. And I think that's one
Yes.
thing that I love about the transition of relative races. They're evolving.
Mhm.
And they're they've always obviously touched on sensitive subjects with adoption, but now they're kind of branching out and allowing more beyond
Right.
that kind of
I
thing.
agree.
You
Yes.
film for hours, right, with family,
Yes.
and there's only 2 to 3 minutes. There's about 3
Right.
minutes total on each show. And so I love that they allowed that part in.
Mm-hmm.
And just the fact that her brother said, look, I'm struggling. I'm an addict too. And
Right.
I
Yes.
know even in our family, we have 7 kids between us. And I think seeing a show like that, and we have an addict, we have 2, allows you to connect even more. Because
Oh,
not only are you
yes.
connecting on these other levels, but you're, the whole family can go, oh gosh, I understand that, or I get that, or I just thought
Right.
that was nice. That they,
Right. Right. And,
Yeah.
and to that point too, because they were branching out into, talking more about the adoptive family and the biological family and these kind of issues, it's helping to heal all sorts of different things that are going on within a family. And being honest about these types of issues. And so I agree with you. I'm loving that they're expanding that. And, because when it first started, it was just like, oh, and it was just sweet and kind and everything. But now it's like it's really getting into the nitty gritty of
It's
these are,
real.
it's real. Exactly. These are the
Mhm.
reasons that children sometimes can't stay with their biological parents. And every, situation in adoption isn't horrible for these kids. And you know what I mean? And so I think it's really helping people to understand. And I've said this time and time again on the show, it's helped me as an adoptive mom be more supportive of my kids if they would like to look. And some of them have, and some of them aren't ready yet. So it's helped me in so many ways. So I know it's helped other people as well. So I agree with you on that. I really do appreciate that they've done that. All right, who next? Green? How about Team Green? Because I think we gotta have to do Team Black last, because we might start tearing up.
Well, to piggyback on what Ashley was saying,
Yeah.
not only with the addiction, but
Mhm.
also with the other medical issue that Team Green has, the mother and
Exactly.
daughter,
Yeah,
And I
exactly.
find it interesting that we're on day 2 and they haven't asked
We
any of their
haven't.
relatives yet, do you have this condition? I mean,
Yeah.
so that's what one of the
That
questions
we
they
know
want to
of.
answer.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Because that's exactly what they
Yeah.
wanted. You're right. And I thought about that last night, is here you are with 3 aunts. They were able
Mm-hmm.
to meet 3 aunts, 3 paternal aunts, so her father's sisters. And unless they asked, and it just didn't
But it's
make
part of
the
the show
show.
because we should know because it's part of the
Yeah,
show. They've been said
right.
on the show. That's what they want
Yeah,
to
yeah,
know. So
yeah. So
they
they
met
should have.
3 aunts,
Yeah.
and it's interesting. I don't know if y'all caught it or not, but one of her aunts were named Mary, Vicky, and Betty,
Mm-hmm.
and one of her aunts, Vicky, and they pronounce their last name different than what I pronounce it because I actually have my mother's first cousin's son, and I have not seen him since we were like 9 years old. But his name was spelled the same way, and we pronounced it Kohler.
Oh,
Koehler.
uh-huh.
They lived in Florida, so I don't know if there's any connection. However, her Aunt Vicky, I'll say Kohler because I can't remember how they pronounced it. Her last name, her married last name is Barker.
Yeah.
Did you catch that?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Well,
So,
maybe
yeah.
we've got a GenFriends connection.
I don't know.
Yeah.
You have to look into that and see. That would be really hysterical. That'd be
Yeah, it
really
would.
hysterical. And if you find that there is that connection, we're going to invite them on the show.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you bet.
But I am
Yeah.
finding I'm looking at the relatives. I know we're only on day 2, but I'm looking at like all of her aunts. I'm looking at them going, are they wearing wigs? Are they wearing wigs?
Oh,
You know?
exactly. Exactly. That's what
I did
was
it
too.
too. I do too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they all have the nose. But
They
they
all
all
have the
have
Yes,
the
they
nose.
did. They all had
This
the
is true.
nose.
That was cute. That was cute. We all have the nose. And they were so loving and so
Yeah.
welcoming.
Yes.
You know, and talking
Yeah.
about how excited that their brother, her dad, was when he found out that he had a daughter, and that,
And
you know,
then they told
he
her that
knew.
he was excited and so happy from the moment he found out, which,
Yeah.
means a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
That does mean a lot. It really does. And so they were just
Well,
wonderful.
even when Betty, who greeted her, hugged her, she whispered, "I love you,"
Yeah.
to Jen, and that's just, that's so wonderful. That's so sweet.
Especially when you don't know. I mean, Ashleigh, it's got to be hard because you're going to meet these people, and yes, they've come to meet you on the show, but you still don't know how welcoming they're going to be. It's got to be nerve-wracking for both ends, for
Oh yeah.
you and for them.
Very surreal. It's very surreal. I mean, that's the only word to describe it because you just don't know. And even afterward, you still want to get to know them because, you can do the show, but then it's afterward too. I mean, the show's one thing, right?
Right.
But then having a relationship afterward, but
right. And sometimes, sometimes those are going to work and sometimes they're not going to work after the show. And that's, that's life. That's,
right.
Sometimes.
I've been very blessed because all of them have been great. So I've been really lucky, but I just, grateful for that. But I just know that it's not always that way, right?
Yeah,
so
exactly. And I think it's important for people looking for family to know that sometimes it doesn't
always work out.
Yeah. Even if it's the meeting is wonderful on the show, it's that time afterwards that, there's a lot of expectations, I'm sure, from everybody. And so it's got to be hard to work through, but just such an amazing opportunity that the show gives people to be able to find people that, they've been looking for all their lives, and for some to not even know that they had family out there, like Team Green's dad, the dad, and grandpa. He's also a grandpa, but he didn't know he had this granddaughter. So it's just an amazing show. And I'm dragging because we need to talk about
Black team.
Team Black.
Oh my gosh, it's not that everybody else wasn't emotional, but that was just.
That was, well, no, because know what I was thinking. Relative race is sneaky because you go through a whole season and you love all these teams and you think I'm never gonna love another team like I loved this season.
This team, yeah.
And so then the first day comes and you're like, okay, I'm just getting to know you, but like I didn't cry at all the first show, last week, and man, oh my gosh, I mean, I knew it because he started. David started saying things like, "This is going to be my moment."
Yeah,
like,
I was worried that it wasn't. Yeah, I was worried like, it'd pull up and it wasn't his. It wasn't. And
can you imagine? That's what I was thinking. I'm like, oh my goodness, I hope it definitely is his because he's got himself all revved up here. And he kept saying things like, I've never seen anybody that looks like me. I'm going to look at their hands. I'm going to look in their eyes. And I'm just like, oh my goodness. It was just so emotional. And so he met his sister, Kathy.
Gosh.
And
wow,
that was crazy. I mean,
it was crazy. And he was talking about how he'd never seen a picture of himself as a baby. And what does she pull out? She pulls out baby pictures. And he was sobbing. He was just sobbing.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. That's when I lost it too, because it's like he's looking at it. He goes, "Who's that?" He goes, is that me?" And you're like, "Oh my gosh!" It just. I think how much that I can't even imagine. To never, like you said, not to have any like memories or baby photos or anything.
Or people who remembered him as a baby. I have kids that have that same problem. We've got no baby pictures of them. They don't know anybody that knew them as a baby. And so, there's always these things at school, right? Where you need to send in a baby picture. Well, it was very difficult because we have kids that didn't have a baby picture. So
to be 52 years old and see a photo of yourself for the first time.
Yeah.
And actually, that I think that was definitely just so much on his mind, because when he hugged Kathy, I think he said, the first thing he says, "I was just a baby. Do you remember me?" And so it's kind of very, very tender, that he didn't have those childhood, photos and everything.
Exactly.
And then how important it was.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Mary.
Yeah, his dad, how important it was to his dad, and that they gave him this little license plate.
Oh gosh.
Like his dad had carried in his wallet every day.
It was a replica of the one they buried his father with.
Yeah, they carried in his wallet.
Yeah,
and then they buried him with it.
And they buried him with it.
Yeah, and then made him a replica to carry around. He goes, "I'm going to frame it." So, and it was his dad's dying wish. Oh,
yeah.
That Kathy find him. And then did you not love when Dan said, as he's asking who you all met, he says, "I think we've got somebody else in attendance here today. I think your dad is here." Loving this moment. Oh, just goosebumps,
Yeah.
Oh, that was just beautiful. But then he also found out something else. He always thought he was the youngest.
Yeah.
And there's actually 10 children.
And he's not the youngest.
And he's not the youngest. So that's a story in and of itself. Are the rest of them all connected? Because Kathy made it sound like everybody else is connected except for him. So what's the story of how did he not get brought back into the family? So that's very interesting that the rest of them were able to come back home. And how did he end up, not staying in foster care and going from foster home to foster home to foster home until he finally landed in the one that, took care of him and loved him. And so that's going to be an interesting story as that plays out as well, I think.
Because they made it sound like he got lost, like they couldn't find him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they couldn't find you to bring you.
Because even his sister
Wasn't he
Kathy
adopted
said,
twice?
Yeah, that could have
so
been.
it probably was in that made it so hard to find.
Right.
Crazy.
But were you going to say something?
I was just saying, even his sister Kathy, she talked about how she, I guess, was in the foster care system or something, and then went back with her mom.
And then went back.
So she didn't elaborate, but she did mention it. And so I wondered,
somewhere
did all of the kids go out and then come back?
Right, except for him. Yeah, especially that's got to be.
Mary said if he was adopted twice, he could have gotten lost within the system, and they couldn't find him.
Yeah, name changes, things like that.
Well, he even found out that he thought that his name was Garcia. But it wasn't. It was, and I know they pronounced it, but I don't remember what it was. But
yeah, so that's another story too. So a lot of the things that he thought he knew, and we see this a lot. We see this a lot in the different seasons. Is people are told different things or their memories, and they're not quite what really happened, or memories aren't accurate, or things like that. And so he's going to have quite the story, and this is going to be, and at some point he'll be able to meet all those siblings, even if it's not. But I want to see this big group hug. That's what I want to see. I want to see them all together with the mom, all together again. That's going to be amazing. That's going to be amazing. So it's Jenny. I was right with you.
It was just, I didn't.
I was sobbing.
I saw it coming. I said, "Oh boy, this is gonna be the one that's gonna get me," and it sure did, because he was just so joyful and almost grief a little bit too, kind of like, you know, he just like this had hurt so long, and he was so joyful to meet the first person that he was ever related to. Oh my gosh, it was just it was so heartbreaking and joyous at the same time.
At the same time, I agree. It was a beautiful moment, and I watched it twice. I watched it last night when it was on, and then I watched it again today, and I cried both times. Yeah, I even knew it was coming. I knew it was coming.
The photo got me. The photo of him as a little boy got me.
Yeah, absolutely. To see a photo of yourself when you've never seen that before, it's just got to be. I can't even imagine. Ashlee,
I can relate to that.
I was gonna say,
yeah, I am. My biological or my adoptive parents had pictures when they didn't get me for 2 months. So I was born, and then I was at a convent for about four weeks before she actually decided to sign the paper. She still didn't want to lay in the journal. You know, she was hesitant. My biological mom was hesitant. And she finally did. But then my adopted dad got the mumps. And so the state wouldn't allow him to, weren't allowed to pick me up for 6 weeks. So they had to wait. So my adoptive parents were dying because they wanted to get me so badly. So I was put in a foster home temporarily. So I didn't have any pictures from, newborn. Like I didn't have newborn pictures. But I mean, I did 2.5 months on, and relative race. And then that journal, there was a picture of me. And so it's weird, you guys, because I would look at it and sometimes have to tell myself that's me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like processing it of like, that is you. That's me. And it's just like, wow. And it's just, I don't know. Somewhere it's just fulfilling. It's just a weird, I don't know. It's just a weird thing. And luckily, I mean, I did have pictures, most of my childhood, but having that newer picture was cool. But I was going to make a side note too about, it's really awesome that my family gets to be on this. That is so phenomenal. And I'm so beyond the moon for them and so happy. But I had the opportunity to meet all the other teams on this season.
Yes.
And I can just tell you, I love them all. Like
we've already fallen in love with all of them.
Yes. And I got the opportunity they all came up here into Utah. And so we had an opportunity to all be together. And, just talking about Black and having met him and just knowing, like you said, the things that you talked about, his character and him, and his gratitude and his knowing that God has led them to this, and just the things that they shared. It was just, so loving. It just made me love them just as much as my family, right? I was like, wow, so great.
They're all great. I have a question about you saying they came up to Utah. I have noticed throughout the seasons that it seems like after the end of each season, do they bring all the teams to Utah to maybe do some filming, some extra filming, or is there it just seems like that happens?
No, it just depends on so whatever pickup lines and wherever they live, they usually go out to them.
Oh, okay.
And do that with them. But no, they didn't. Like our season, we've never come back together or anything.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I talked to Abe just the other day, if you guys remember Abe and Eric.
Oh, yeah. They both been on a lot.
I know. Eric loves you guys.
We love him.
He's always telling me, I'm going to be on GenFriends again.
We love having him.
Yeah, I know.
Absolutely.
He's a hoot. He's a character.
Yeah, we got to get him back because he just went to visit his mom. So
yes, he did. That was exciting for him.
Yeah.
So anyway,
I was just curious because I've seen other teams posting, other teams posting that they've been to Utah. So I just didn't know if that was something that was routinely done or they just decided to go out there. I wasn't sure what was up with that. So
sometimes it's for instance, for the premiere for the first episode, we had a little gathering and did that. So some of them were able to come, but like our season was all over the place, and so that wasn't feasible. And then with family situations, and so that wasn't a thing.
Right.
But some do, and some are able to. So.
Okay. Yeah. Well, it must be interesting to watch the season because what happened to you. Mm-hmm. At the call at the end of the night what happened, who they met, but you don't know the rest of the story, the rest of the day, so it must be really interesting to see oh, I didn't know that happened to them, or I didn't know that happened to them, and oh my goodness,
Yeah.
and see the full reunion that they show with their family, because all you see is, oh, this is who I met today, and so
Mhm.
that must be awesome to be able to watch that.
Oh
So
yeah, yeah. You totally learn so much more when you actually get to watch the episode. You're like, yeah,
and see what really happened at the challenge to everybody, right?
yeah, yeah, for
So,
sure.
how are you feeling about these new rules where there's no strikes?
I love
There
it.
are strikes.
Oh yeah,
Well,
they're back. They're
well,
back. You're
not
right.
go. Oh, that's right. You're right. Not going home strikes, I guess is what I mean. There's no 3 strikes, you're out anymore. Thank you for correcting me, Mary. So the new way that they're doing it, that
Everybody goes to day 10.
everybody goes to day 10, which we love. And Dan said he had to in threat of death from fans. Everybody wanted to see, everybody's relative, and not with just a golden ticket. We wanted to see the actual thing. So I think it's fun. Do you think it's
Yeah.
a good way to do it, Ashlee?
Oh yeah. Oh, sorry.
That's okay. That's okay.
Yes, I think it's wonderful. I think it's great. I think people wanted that for a long time, but it's just
Yeah.
they wanted to still keep that game element in it.
Mhm.
And so I think it's been tricky to try and obviously they've done different things for different seasons, trying to make it work.
Yeah.
I know some people are still like, no, we want it more competitive, so I don't know. You're never going to make everybody happy, right?
You're not. You're not.
So-
I think this is a good compromise to
Yeah.
give the strikes and then
Yeah.
count up the strikes, and then those 2 teams at the bottom, duel it out.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, on day
That
10.
seems like it.
So,
Yeah, that's kind of how ours was in a way when
Yeah.
we did it, but yeah, it was just kind of weird. I mean, the elimination spot didn't really mean anything.
right, exactly. And it was confusing.
It was confusing.
It was confusing to us. We're like, I don't know.
Remember, every week we say, well, we think we know what's happening, but we're really not sure. So we ask our viewers, if you can figure it out, will you tell us? Because we don't know what's going on.
Seriously, I know.
So I think this, they may have hit on it. We'll have to see how day 10 goes, but I think this may be the way to do it. So you can still have those people who love all the challenges and the race part of it, be happy, and it's fair. And then those of us that just want to see all the family, more and more family, they seem to have hit their stride with that as well. So of course we'd still want to see all family all the time, but it is a game, it is a race. There's money to win, and so they've got to be, and like you said, you can't make everybody happy. So
it seems more clear this year. It just seems more clear,
So-
with like, okay, whoever's at the bottom, they compete,
Exactly.
And we didn't know that was going to happen till we got
Right.
there, and it was
Yeah.
like day 10, and they're like, oh, you two are going to,
Oh,
okay.
no way. Yeah, exactly. Well, speaking of, who got another strike, let's talk about, did we catch everything that you guys wanted to talk about for everybody's story? Was there anything that we forgot? I think we
heard Dan singing again.
Oh, that's right. That's right. As Team Blue is out, we heard Dan singing again. So stop singing, Dan. But no, it was funny. It was great.
It was fun.
Keep your day job.
No, we would like to have Dan come back on the show sometime. So Dan, that was wonderful.
It was wonderful.
See, we loved it. Let's talk about who came in first and who came in last. And this time, instead of saying, that the winning team gets to penalize the other teams, which is not really what happens, but it sounds good, I guess. It said that the number 1 team receives a benefit, which is actually what happened last week, but it just twisted it around. So, but anyway, anybody want to go through that?
Black got first.
Yeah. They had a great day.
I wasn't surprised by that watching them, because sometimes you can't tell who's going to, because of how they cut away and they cut it up a little bit. You can't tell. But Black I could tell was probably going to get first this time.
Yeah, everything seemed to go their way.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then we had, who came in second? Mary.
Mary's
Team
team.
Blue.
And then we had that, a drama that we always have. Who's gonna come in third?
Last place to me was not a surprise.
No,
it wasn't.
It wasn't. When you can't find, when you time out of your challenge, and when you can't find your relative's house, and everything just seems to be going it really wasn't a surprise. But you know what I loved is Team Red said it doesn't even matter, and Dan said the same thing. Well, both Dans, but
both Dans,
both Dan. That you don't even. It was all worth it. It doesn't matter. And it's so early on. It's like
it is.
It's early on. So, and we've seen teams get strikes day 1 or day 2, and they never get another one. So, and then all of a sudden, teams just start racking them up towards the end. So it's too early to get upset. They had a great day.
I think the fact that they've taken away the harshness of strikes and different things, I think it's allowed the teams to actually not be quite so stressed and enjoy their days. At least that's what I'm feeling.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
They got enough stress as it is trying to find their relative's house and then meeting their relative. They're going to accept them, all those emotions, and then on top of that, have to worry about getting a strike and how many strikes, and that I just think I'm feeling, I don't know, last season, this season, I'm starting to feel, especially this season, feeling a little more relaxation in that arena. So I'm glad. Like Ashlee said, I'm kind of glad that me, I came kicking and screaming watching the show because I don't do reality TV and I don't like the competition aspect of it, but the family and all that stuff kind of overrides it for me. But now there's a little less competition, so I kind of like that.
Yeah. Do you think that's true, that that's less stress on everybody?
I think it's less stressful for them because they're having to handle the family and the trying to get there, and then you add all this competition on top of it. Well, if you try to do your best at the competition, but knowing in the end you're going to get to day 10.
Yeah.
I mean, you might have some penalties or something because of maybe not doing so well during the competition, but at least you're going to make it to day 10 and you can maybe redeem yourself on day 10.
Exactly. What do you think? You think that?
Oh yeah, I think it's a lot less stressful because even when we were first told about the elimination. Oh, sorry. Am I okay?
Go ahead.
Yeah, you're fine. You're fine.
I didn't know if it was background.
I don't know what was going on. Yeah.
I think that when we first were told the first day about the elimination spot, then it caused a lot of stress because we didn't know what that really meant. And we thought we're going to be eliminated because he didn't even give us like a strike option. It was like, you're just going to be eliminated. So at first I'm like scared to death that like we may only be there 2 days and go home. So there's like this worry, until like after 2 or 3 days and nobody's going home and they're like, oh, you're in the elimination spot. Oh, now you can come back out of the elimination spot. I'm like, I don't think anybody's going home.
Exactly.
At this point, so I was like, okay, I think we're okay. So then my stress level went down because then I didn't have that stress of like, okay, I think we're all okay. We're all going to go to day 10. It's just that there's this elimination thing going on. But once that was taken away, it was like, okay, I can just deal with what we've got to deal with throughout the day. Because like you said, it is a lot because you're just like, okay, in the morning, where are we headed? Where are we going? And then it's like, get to the competition part. Okay, we made it there, and it was just like trying to go through that. But when you don't have to worry about what's going to happen that night as badly or as much, then it does take a lot of that stress away. Definitely. I think, Melissa, you were right on with that. Absolutely. And I like that. I can see that. I just feel like the teams are so much more, even with the season, and maybe it's just the personalities of the teams this year or this season, but they just seem calmer about it. It doesn't seem like so competitive. And so,
Well, which team was it? The mother that actually had to drop out? Was it last season before? Last season?
Joby.
Yeah. I feel like the competition just got to her.
Yeah.
And so I'm kind of glad. And maybe that's part of what facilitated this season.
Possibly. I think you're right. I do know that Green Team is very competitive, though. They were telling me how competitive they were. I'm like, whoa. So, I mean, there was the competitiveness within themselves, right? Of wanting to get to that day 10 and do well. But.
Sure. I mean, that's a lot of money to win. So Yeah, yeah.
But I like it. I think it's great. I think the change is good.
Mary, you were going to say something. I think I cut you off. I'm sorry.
Oh, no.
Oh, are you okay? Looks like you froze up or I froze up. Yikes.
I'm
I
fine.
think it's,
I'm
yep,
frozen
there
up.
she is.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Well, I think we went through this this day. Ashlee, we are so grateful to have you come and anytime, especially if you've got some scoop you want, since you are riding along, just let me know. Okay.
What you see from that back seat.
That's right. What are you saying in that back seat? Come on and let us know. We would love to have you come back and let us know, what's going on and how fun to have you in that back seat. That must be so thrilling for you to be able to feel like you're riding along with the seasons.
Yes, it's been a fun adventure to be on this ride with them. So it'll be good. It'll be good. You guys get to see more. Yay.
Good. I can't wait. I can't wait. So we thank you for being here, and I want to thank my wonderful panel that always comes and helps me out with this and asks the best questions and has the best comments. So I appreciate y'all. We appreciate the viewers who watch and the team members who watch. And so we'd love to have your comments about what's going on and what your thoughts were of day 2. And what do you think is getting ready to happen on day 3? We don't know. Who else are they going to meet? So with that, we will see you next time on GenFriends. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.